This episode of LCL Report brought to you by StashYourSwag.com. This amazing ebook will give you over 100 ideas and secret hiding places all around your house. None are over $50. Most of them are free. Remember, StashYourSwag.com. Go check it out. Hi, this is Terran Lupo, and welcome to LCL Report, or Low Country Liberty Report, if you didn't know what that stood for. Today I'm going to talk about terrorism, especially domestic terrorists. Now, a while back, I'd say a couple months now, there was a report that came out in Missouri called, the people are just calling it the MIAC report. It basically profiled a set of characteristics that if police officers see, people should be suspected of being domestic terrorists. Of course, this went around, and the list was so encompassing that just about everyone I know is a terrorist. So I'm going to read through this list in case you just missed it to get an idea, and I'm also going to combine some other Department of Homeland Security reports, because remember, this is only what got released to the public. Who really knows what the real documents say that didn't get released? So here we go. Basically, I'm gonna say it's like Jeff Foxworthy. You might be a terrorist if, right? You remember you might be a redneck? Maybe that's too old now. All right. If you are a Ron Paul supporter, if you are a libertarian, a constitutionalist, a gun owner, a veteran returning from a foreign war, if you support pro-sovereignty groups, anti-war groups, anti-free trade or globalism groups, anti-abortion groups, anti-illegal immigration groups, if you ever prepared for the Y2K scare, do you believe the Obama administration wants more gun control? Do you fear that Obama will enact firearm confiscation? Have you ever been to chat rooms on the internet? Well, come on now. That's ridiculous, but I have no idea why some of these are in here. Have you ever been seen in public doing community service work? I'm not sure why that's in there, but I'm sure if someone knows that reason, you want to expand, please do. Have you ever supported a third party in politics? Do you own a Gadsden flag? That's the yellow flag. I have a report on it if you want to see it. The Don't Tread on Me flag. Do you have cartoons, bumper stickers of political nature, anti-government, IRS, abortion shown in a derogatory light, anything like that? Political cartoons, basically. Are you angry by the Federal Reserve or the IRS? Wow, geez, who does? I want to meet someone that likes the IRS or the Fed. Are you concerned about the Ammunition Accountability Act? Are you worried about the collapse of the U.S. due to economic failure? Are you worried about a new constitutional convention that will take away your First and Second Amendment rights? Do you oppose Obama's creation of a civil corps of youngsters? And they call that the GIVE Act, the mandatory volunteerism. Are you against the RFID chip? Do you consider the taxes unconstitutional? Do you have a shortwave radio? You ever been to a gun show? Are you on a social media site? Have you ever met in an informal group? I guess they're talking about, I mean, geez, what does that mean? That could be anything, but I guess they're talking about like militias or like an Appleseed project or something. Are you a first responder with the local law enforcement? So now cops, firefighters, EMTs are on the list, I suppose. Have you ever flown the United States flag, the 9 stripes of the Sons of Liberty flag, or the First Navy Jack flag? If you ever watched Zeitgeist or Freedom to Fascism or Turner Diaries, do you believe there's an attempt going on to create a new world order or a North American Union? Do you oppose open borders, or do you own gold? If you consider the bailouts reckless or economic spending by this nation reckless? If you answer yes to any of these, you might be a terrorist and you can be labeled suspicious. How many did you answer yes to? This whole report would be pretty much laughable if it didn't have teeth to it. And what I mean by that is what makes this so scary is if you get labeled a domestic terrorist, you basically have no constitutional rights in this country. See, back in the Bush administration, he was having a hard time detaining prisoners of war without any sort of trial or basically any formalities. A case went all the way to the Supreme Court where the Supreme Court told Bush, hey, you have to give prisoners at least a trial. He didn't like that answer, so they went around it and made a new law called the Military Commissions Act. And this law says if you're even suspected, you don't even have to be a terrorist, just the keyword suspected, you can be basically taken away without a trial, held where no one needs to know where you are for an indefinite amount of time. What's even scarier is, there was so much outrage about that, but now Obama has just been quoted for basically saying the same thing. He's not really even trying to hide this. And I think it's better explained on what I heard on the radio show Free Talk Live. I'm going to let you listen to a clip of that.
The show,
yeah.
But I've even heard Rachel Maddow and Keith Olbermann get on Obama for some of the things he's done.
So Justin Raimondo over at antiwar.com has one of his shortest articles ever. He's not closing Guantanamo. He's continuing the preventative detention policy of the Bush administration under a new rubric, prolonged detention. He's on board with military commissions, reformed, of course, and the denial of habeas corpus. And last but certainly not least, his supporters in Congress have launched a campaign to give him and his cabinet officials the power to close down the Internet in the name of national security.
For you.
I won't go on at length, says Raimondo, about the brazen hypocrisy and general slipperiness exhibited by Obama and his fans when it comes to key civil liberties issues such as these. Jack Goldsmith, former head of George Bush's Office of Legal Counsel, and Rachel Maddow, progressive commentator on MSNBC, have done a superlative job of that. Goldsmith, of course, notes the president's turn on a dime with obvious approval, arguing that the Bush approach was haphazard and lacked any substantive legal basis, while Maddow is horrified that instead of abolishing these Bush-era assaults on the Constitution, her former hero is intent on formalizing and legalizing them. So she strikes a powerful blow against Cheneyism without Cheney by pointing out that the president's preventative detention policy, which claims for the U.S. government the right to hold anyone, including American citizens, indefinitely, without trial, without formal charges, and without telling anyone, is worse than anything Bush ever attempted in one important sense. The Bushian effort was at least secretive and strictly ad hoc. The Obamaites, however, are quite openly constructing what Obama calls a new legal regime to preside over this wholesale assault on the Constitution. At least the Bush crowd had enough remnants of moral sense to sneak around and try to hide their crimes against liberty and the rule of law. Although they tried to rationalize their actions with after-the-fact legal arguments, the effort seems to me rather half-hearted. They weren't really all that concerned with legalizing their power grab. They just went ahead and did it, and damn the torpedoes. The Obamaites, on the other hand, have a different style, but the substance is essentially the same, with the addition of a few minor tweaks and rhetorical flourishes. They want to bureaucratize and institutionalize the horrors of the past 8 years and make what used to be unthinkable routine.
Now, I'm not an alarmist. I'm not one of these people that go crying wolf all the time. But this is some pretty scary legislation that you can be held without a trial. I mean, we hadn't seen abuses this openly since Lincoln in the Civil War. I mean, this is kind of stuff that you see dictators do right before they grab power. I think it's pretty scary stuff coming down the pipeline. What can you do? The best we can do is raise a stink with our legislation, but, that never seems to do much. But you could also embrace the title domestic terrorist like many have here and just make a complete farce out of the whole bill. So hopefully it won't carry much teeth and it'll be shown for its asinineness. If that's a real word, asinineness. This is Terry Lupo, signing off for LCL Report. As always, good hunting.
Check out freetalklive.com, best pro-liberty show out there, with free podcast and live from 7 to 10 every night. Check it out tonight.